We're back with breaking news as the Epstein files fall out embroils Washington. As the DOJ is weighing whether to release transcripts of Deputy AG Todd Blanche's interviews with Epstein co-conspirator and convicted sex trafficker Ghislaine Maxwell, we just got new information about what was discussed in those interviews. It comes as CNN reports top Trump officials are planning to gather at Vice President Vance's residence later today for a strategy meeting. It would include J.D. Vance, White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles, Attorney General Pam Bondi, Blanche, and FBI Director Kash Patel. Now, NBC News has not confirmed that reporting, but moments ago, we did get a statement from the family of Epstein survivor Virginia Giuffre, who died by suicide earlier this year. That family calling for the voices of survivors of Maxwell and Epstein to be heard in this meeting. Joining us now, MSNBC's Justice and Intelligence correspondent Ken Dilanian and our legal correspondent Lisa Rubin. Ken, I understand you have new information on this interview between Todd Blanche and Ghislaine Maxwell. What did you learn?
Yeah, good morning, Anna. I'm told by an official familiar with the matter that Ghislaine Maxwell did not say anything that would have implicated Donald Trump in wrongdoing during that 9-hour interview with the Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche. It appears to be still up in the air whether the transcripts or the audio of that interview will be released by the Justice Department. As you said, there's a lot of discussions underway inside the Trump administration about how best to handle this whole thing going forward, whether there are still demands for more disclosure. There's also this question of whether the grand jury transcripts will be released, and a judge will have to rule on that, both in the Maxwell case and the Epstein investigation. And we do have a new statement from one of Epstein's victims, a lawyer for one of the victims, Annie Farmer, who says that, quote, unsealing the grand jury transcripts will illuminate the scope of Epstein and Maxwell's abuse, provide additional insight into those who enabled his abuse, and bring to light how these crimes were investigated and prosecuted. So there's one voice in favor of more transparency, more release. We also do know, though, that the Justice Department told the judge they do not want the exhibits released along with the grand jury transcripts. And that's a big distinction, because the grand jury transcripts would consist of the testimony of the witnesses, which is an FBI agent, an NYPD detective, describing the investigation. The exhibits would include photos, videos, other evidence that was entered into evidence gathered up by the FBI. And again, the Justice Department is saying they don't want those released right now. So that's where we stand on it.
And so, Lisa, you've been talking to some of the attorneys of victims as well. How do you see this disclosure, what Ken just reported out about the interview between Maxwell and Blanche and what she did or didn't say?
I think it's interesting because I think what's more illuminating than her answers, particularly given that she was charged with perjury previously and many people don't think she can be trusted, are what questions did Todd Blanche ask her? That will be as important to the victims as the way that Ghislaine Maxwell herself answered the questions. And the reason is because while the victims are in favor of full transparency, barring disclosure of their names or identifying details, they also believe that there's something funky about this interview, that the administration is using this as cover for releasing all of the files within its possession. And therefore, they are interested in seeing how this interview was conducted. I had one lawyer for some of the victims, Jack Scarola, telling me the other day, any competent interview of Ghislaine Maxwell would be conducted by somebody who has full fluency with the investigative history here, and that appears not to be Todd Blanche. Obviously, a transcription or an audio recording will demonstrate whether or not Mr. Scarola's prediction is correct.
And of course, it would be hours, presumably, of interviews that they're deciding whether or not to release. That would be transcribed, and whether they make them public. Is it all or nothing? We don't know yet, so stay tuned for that. But talk to us about what Virginia Giuffre's family is now saying about this reported meeting that's expected between the vice president and all these members of the DOJ.
Virginia Giuffre's family is saying that a victim representative should be at the table at this meeting where the administration is convening to decide what the right approach should be. And that is sort of echoes of what we've heard from lawyers for other victims in the case. With respect to the motions to unseal the grand jury testimony, which is a separate source of evidence or information here, you had a lawyer for some of the victims, Brad Edwards, who said in a letter to the court yesterday, The way in which the administration has gone about this has not been appropriately solicitous of victims' viewpoints. And not only are they not taking our clients into consideration, but this whole process is messed up. You, judge, should redo the process by ensuring that DOJ has to notify all known victims and comply with the Crime Victims' Rights Act. Our clients had a right to be notified of any proceeding that implicates how this case was conducted, and therefore you first need to demand that they notify everyone, give people more of an opportunity to be heard, and before you release any of the grand jury transcripts, give victims' representatives, meaning their lawyers, an opportunity to review what is proposed to be released to the public to ensure that all of the redactions for victims' identities and names are appropriately made here.
I just keep thinking about throughout this case how much the lines have been blurred here, Ken, between the Justice Department and the White House when it comes to the DOJ's independence.
Yeah, Anna, this is just the latest example, obviously. This administration has shattered the post-Watergate 5-decade-old wall between the White House and the Justice Department when it comes to criminal investigations. It appears to be all one political operation, and what's most important to them is strategy and how it plays, and that's why they're having these meetings. What's gotten lost is the rule of law and norms and traditions. Generally, the secret fruits of a criminal investigation are not spilled out into public view. And again, a judge is going to have the last word on those grand jury transcripts after all. But even for the Justice Department to ask for the review in consultation and for the release in consultation with White House officials and as they game out the political implications of all this just tells you we're in a much different world here in the Trump administration.